look at it as being boring to go live your life and not do things that, you know, that are different and that are exciting, you know, and rewarding, and trying to make the world a better place and give people happiness and joy. It's just, I don't want to just be a number. I'm going to tackle things.
It's almost a dream to me is where we're at and how it's evolved from, oh, let's build a Daytona and go, you know, go to Bonneville. It's gone so much farther than that and so much deeper with the people.
You did it right when you honored this.
I think it's like anything in life. In order to make yourself better, to move forward, you got to look at the past.
I think ultimately the racers of today need to understand that they're standing on the shoulders of men and women who achieved great things, but also went through tremendous sacrifices to do that.
We came from the workforce. You know, if you had a regular job, you couldn't quit. You know, you had to go and put up whatever the situation was, so you got your paycheck to pay your bills next week.
Most everybody that was in the sport then wasn't really in it to make money. We were in it because we loved racing.
You got to understand that other people made more sacrifices than you did for you to be where you're at, and the sacrifices that you're making now will hopefully help future generations.
We didn't know what quit meant. I mean, for me, I chose to do that as a living. So it was my job, just like a factory man that gets up every morning and goes and punches that clock. I'd work sometimes at my shop all night long and not even get to go home and go to bed. And I mean, there was no such thing as quit.
Guys that were the key competitors, I do not remember any one of them quitting. No, everybody kept going. Go in and fix the car, go and put a Band-Aid on, whatever you need to do, keep going.
They grew up in an era where you had to earn your living. And they come from humble backgrounds where they worked on the farms or they worked in factories. They put in the effort.
And one of the things Richard always points out is where he grew up around Randleman, most everybody was farmers. And he said, we just happen to drive race cars. And that's what they did to pay the bills. And the first race Richard ever won was protested by his father. The reason his dad protested was because Oldsmobile had a bonus if you were driving a current year car. Lee was driving a current year car in 1960 or 61. Richard was not. It's $500 more. That put groceries on the table and parts in the car. So it was the business. It was about business. It wasn't about emotion or anything. It's just like Dave said, like what Richard says, is it was just what we did to feed the family.
I'm 53 years old. Not that I don't think Kyle Busch is a great talent. I'm not going to look up to Kyle Busch when I remember watching guys like Harry Gant and Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Allison and Donnie. I remember watching those guys race, and they were just hard chargers.
We used to run Dover, Delaware. That's a 5.5 hour race minimum. If there's a bunch of caution flags, it's 6 hours. And we used to get up 4:30 in the morning, go up there and eat breakfast, put the car through inspection, race all day long, drive home all night long, get back here about 9 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning, unload that race car and go to work and work till 6 o'clock that night at the shop and then go home.
You know, those guys paved the way for a whole group of people to really provide for their families in ways that I'd say most of them couldn't do without their hard work in the beginning.
Having spent time around a lot of the legendary racers, one thing that was always apparent about these men was they were men. They were tough.
I know myself personally, at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the 600, I burnt the whole right heel off. In fact, the doctor said the third day he can't take any more skin off because there's no more skin on it. And I tried to drive with my left foot. And you'll try that sometime.
I would say they've got a huge daredevil streak in them as well. And another way I would describe them is fearless. Whether it was because of what they didn't know or it's just speed is what they were all about. And you know, whether it was Richard Petty, David Pearson, Donnie Allison, Leroy Yarborough, Bobby Isaac, you pick any of them, you know, those guys were fearless.
The Days of Thunder aspect actually existed back then. You know, their faces were covered in dirt when they got done with the race.
I mean, these guys were putting it all out on the line every week. And then safety wasn't there like it is today either. So these guys were going out there risking their lives in this stuff. And it's awesome.
I think now the race gives the impression that anybody could do it. You know, I see racing myself. Guy just runs a 500-mile race and he gets out and just stands up on the side of the car, waves his arm and jumps. I ran a 500-mile race and somebody had to help my ass out. I couldn't get out and jump on the side of the car. And I mean, whether I drove the car harder or the car was harder to drive, whatever the reason was, it was very different. And I was in pretty good shape. And the reason why I say I was in pretty good shape is I'd race 6-7 nights a week sometimes, along with running the Cup car like my brother Bobby. My brother Bobby, we'd fly that Mooney airplane to the racetrack on Thursday for the Grand National race. Thursday night we'd go to a short track and fly back. Friday night we'd go to the short track and fly back. Saturday night we'd go to the short track and fly back. You know, we run 3 races beside the Cup race or the Grand National race. And I don't know, maybe some of these guys we got nowadays, they couldn't even make one of them.
You know, no power steering, a half a roll cage, and a seat without a headrest. And every Sunday they climbed into those cars. And I think that's gotten lost over the last 25 years. I think that's gotten really lost. And it's my vision is through all this is to pay homage to those guys that came before us and preserve those stories and those cars for the future. Because I don't think in 25 years from now, nobody's going to be talking how great a COT car was. I don't see that happening.
But this is what made racing what it is today. When they built the Ford Talladega and they built the Dodge Daytona, that era right there in that little short period of time really made the racing what it is.
We thought what would be cool is back in the day, you guys did everything you could with what you had.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be more fun to take everything we have today and put everything you had over top of it.
How about that? Wow. You know, it was a basic Dodge race car that everybody was racing, and that a lot of people had a lot of trouble driving. And this, with the wing and the nose piece and, you know, the little stuff they'd done to make it to the Daytona, the car just drove really good, and the car was really fast. That particular body right there, the wing, and the wing was really a good help to the thing. You know, it's really small looking when you stop and think of it, but it was really effective. But this car really, really drove good, was good aerodynamics, did everything right to begin with.
It did, and we found that out in the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
We had this, before we painted this car, we took it to the tunnel over the A2 tunnel, and we found out how sensitive that wing was.
Yep.
Very sensitive. And we found out quite a few other things about it, and that car, our land speed car we have now is a 2018 Fusion.
Yeah.
It was a 259 in drag. This is a 192.
Wow.
That's getting after it right there.
I was mostly impressed with the aerodynamic detail that they had gone to. You know, they had the availability of the wind tunnel, and that had to come into the picture some. And they put the cars in the wind tunnel and they messed with the wing a little bit and really see an effect. And you know, I thought that was pretty neat for that thing to be as small as it was in comparison to the entire size of the car, and for it to have as good an effect on it that it had.
When we hung the body, we dropped the nose 4 inches.
Wow.
I thought I worked at DEI with Dale on the RAD program and all that stuff, and I said, we need to get that nose out of the air.
Yeah.
So we dropped the nose 4 inches, and then, remember the old Dodges, the windshields were pretty stood up.
Yeah.
We kind of sneaked this one. One of the parameters I did, we used a stock Charger windshield. And I said, we got to make the stock Charger windshield kind of fit, but let's see what we can get away with. I think everybody involved in this project has grown as a person. When these young guys see these old guys come in and see that twinkle in their eye from something that they built, they're recreating history for these men and women. I think that really hits home with them. It's a different than building a cup car and going to Daytona and knocking the wall down, bring it home, do it again. 1969, 70, you didn't have those.
No.
But we thought it'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, and you know, these come out a 94 Ford.
Is that right?
I had an old Ford Thunderbird that we weren't going to do anything with. 94 Ford Thunderbird. I said, let's pull them roof flaps. Let's just see how close it is. And they fit.
How about that? Wow. Yes, yes.
You know all that?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Got some brakes back there.
Yeah.
And then remember them old tanks? We used to bend them old tanks and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We kind of threw all our old cheater stuff in it. See,
Yeah.
you know.
We may as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't write the rule book. You did.
Yes, yes.
Nice to meet you, sir.
He's our young guy. Carries a lot of passion, just like you like.
I can't have conversations with a lot of people that are my age because they don't get it. And that's another reason I think, well, this place is such a good place to be at and work at, just being myself, and we all enjoy it. And that's all important to all of us.
And thank you, because that's a treat to even look at.
We're never going to forget. I promise you that.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this. That was very difficult for me because that family epitomizes kind of tragedy and triumph, all kind of wrapped up into one.
Davey worked. Got killed playing. Clifford played, and got killed working. What do you do?
And it makes us, me personally, work even harder to bring awareness to what a great competitor he was, and above and beyond that, what a family man he was, and how much he loved his sons and his family, and what they gave up through the tragedies that he's endured through his career for the sport.
I'll show you my favorite picture of the two boys. You see it?
Yeah.
There's Davey doing what he's supposed to be doing, smiling for the camera. And there's Clifford, giving him a set of horns and loving it.
Yeah. They were like the Richard Petty family racing, the Allisons, the Earnhardts. I mean, those were the patriarchs of where the sport is now, and the tragedy that those families have endured throughout the years for triumph. In the end, is it worth it? We'll never know, but they experienced it, and I think that needs to be remembered. You gave everything, Bobby.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to me to pay tribute to guys like you.
Well, and I do appreciate that.
Because people, they need to remember where we came from as racers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what really made the sport what it is. And that's fading away, and we're not going to let that happen here.